Welcome to Call of the Cutie. This episode has nothing to do with the main six, so they're not going to get any points. The antagonist also doesn't influence them at all, so I'm not going to give Diamond Tiara another point. I think that's it. Here we see the Ponyville Schoolhouse. This entire opening focuses very hard on the cutie marks of everyone, which is done explicitly because we need to create the cutie mark crusaders. This also serves as a world-building episode explaining what they are in the first place, and by showing everyone in Apple Bloom's class having their marks, with the exception of Twist, who we'll look at later, it's creating a sort of superiority complex involving the kids, creating a cutie mark versus no cutie mark rivalry sort of deal. And this whole movement is predominantly led by Diamond Tiara, who we will get to probably very early in this episode. It also appears that Cheerilee only teaches fillies and not colts, though that's entirely based off of the designs, and I have no factual basis for that. In fact, I think in future Schoolhouse episodes we see that she does also teach colts, but there just are none in this opening episode. Cheerilee gives her speech about cutie marks and gives us a pretty good explanation. That still leaves us with some questions, obviously, but here are some bullet points. Ponies are not born with cutie marks. Cutie marks are symbolic in nature. Cheerilee's smiling flowers, for example, the flowers symbolize her desire to make her students bloom with knowledge, while smiling is her want to bring students cheer. And lastly, cutie marks only appear when they find that special something that makes them unique from any other pony. This last one is already contradicted. Is not already contradicted as in the series, but will be contradicted pretty much immediately, because we've already seen, actually, in the series, several florists who are just, all the same basic cutie mark design where it's a flower, and we'll also see rodeo clown ponies, jewelers, cab drivers, etc., etc. It's not actually what makes you unique, and as this explained later, I don't remember exactly when, it's actually what you're destined to do as a profession, basically. They say it's what you're going to do for the rest of your life, but as is talked about much later in the series, you can still do other things you enjoy. Your cutie mark is basically the job you're perfect for. As for the question of why do they get them at all, it's probably never answered and is just a quirk of the universe. Cheerilee goes on to explain that no amount of hoping, begging, or wishing can make you get a cutie mark faster, and we'll see in at least 2 episodes that trying to get a cutie mark in an unnatural manner will end horribly, once again reinforcing that magic doesn't solve everything, the rhetoric that the show likes to use. It will also, of course, ignore every time magic does solve the problem, such as in the Trixie episode, obviously. This is Diamond Tiara, pictured here as Smug Bitch, and her cohort back there, Silver Spoon, pictured here as Echo Chamber. Trying to pass a note using Apple Bloom, Cheerilee calls Apple Bloom out and notices the note is blank, which Tiara uses to make a snarking backhanded comment towards Apple Bloom being a blank flank, which is basically a derogatory term for a filly or colt who doesn't have their cutie mark yet. We also see Cheerilee fail to be a good teacher and actually find Diamond Tiara's antics entertaining. We have a new contender for Worst Room Reader with Pinky. And we can see Apple Bloom is now getting self-conscious about her cutie mark. I'm not sure how long this bullying has been going on for, but in a class as small as 9 kids, Cheerilee is terrible at paying attention to them and their needs, which is especially important for younger kids like this, where bad experiences can breed bad habits or mindsets that become incredibly hard to break later in life. We can actually see that the school has a swing set over there in the corner, but more importantly, they have what looks like a tether ball with 2 balls, which is basically a weapon, and kids are allowed to play with it. That's rad as hell. Here we see 6 fillies leaving the classroom, along with the 4 main character fillies that we know about, being Apple Bloom, Diamond Tiara, Silver Spoon, and Twist. Remember the quick maths? Yep, that's 10, not 9. And if we look at who was in the class, these 3 were, and the other 3 have been replaced by a blue one and a green one, while adding an entire extra body. So, how'd y'all fuck up 9 kids? And more bullying and harassment. But Diamond Tiara does invite them to her quinceañera, which is an obvious play on quinceañera, which is normally a Mexican celebration for 15-year-olds, usually female, I'm pretty sure. But obviously these fillies are likely no older than 10, so I guess they're just using it as a fun pun. The fact that Diamond Tiara invited them, despite obviously not liking them, is probably to just humiliate or belittle them some more for her own amusement. We will get some good development for this little shit much later down the line, but for now, like any reasonable adult, we hate the child. Apple Bloom goes to Applejack to complain, and it's nice to see Apple Bloom confide in Applejack, even if it is just complaining. As for the complaint itself, it's mostly just, I'm impatient because I want to show up to Diamond Tiara's birthday with a cutie mark to show her up and prove I'm not a blank flank. Apple Bloom's got some standard bullied kid traits, mostly just wanting to prove them wrong, being self-conscious, and she's mostly acting out of fear in this situation, and while I can and will get angry at children, Apple Bloom is fine here, and venting is okay as long as it's productive. This isn't really productive, but again, Apple Bloom's a kid, she gets a little bit of leeway even if I will get mad at her sometimes. And the other children. They are not safe. Alright, so Apple Bloom brings up cutie mark genetics here. She thinks that because her entire family have apple-based cutie marks, that she will most likely have one too. And depending on how we choose to think about cutie marks, that could be accurate. But as we'll see, things are never so simple. Onto that topic, let's tangent for a second. What are cutie marks? What drive their magic? It's more ancient than any other magic in the series, I'm pretty sure. And as long as there have been ponies, there's been cutie marks. I don't think we've ever had a flashback to the point where they didn't have them, so it's sort of like an ambient magic that, or is it an ambient magic that's a part of the universe? Most likely, if we consider MLP Make Your Mark, since they don't have cutie marks, as the magic is gone. Spoilers, sorry. Are they linked to literal fate, since they only appear when you discover your talent? Are you destined to have a specific one, or do you only get one when you discover your joy? Can you influence your mark? Like, if you only do one thing your entire life specifically to get a cutie mark, will it appear? Or will it never appear because that wasn't the thing you were supposed to get? The obvious answer to all of this is it's a mix of universal magic and discovering your happy place / activity. Lyra 21. Bonbon 26. Also, Apple Bloom is using a green apple for her balancing, but the cart only has red ones, and there were only red ones in the previous scene. I'm also pretty sure 99% of the apples at Sweet Apple Acres are red. So where the fuck did she get this from? No. I'm not gonna let this happen again. I'm not gonna get stuck on it after the vest debacle. But just trust me when I say there's a lot of random green apples, despite us, I don't think, ever seeing green apples on the trees for Sweet Apple Acres. I could be wrong, obviously, but I don't remember it. Apple Bloom harasses the stallion that will later be known as Dr. Hoobs, but for now he's just a random background pony with an hourglass on his butt. I wonder what this mark actually means, though. Before they embrace the Doctor Who meme, is he just like a timekeeper of some kind? And now there's a basket full of different colored apples. I'm tempted to check earlier episodes just to look at the trees whenever they're at Sweet Apple Acres, but I'm not gonna let it consume me like that. You can look for yourselves and just tell me I'm wrong, because nope, not doing it. Fuck 'em. Apple Bloom almost scares Barry's cutie mark right off of her body. Apple Bloom also says they take cash or credit. How? How do they scan cards? I know we see credit card-like things later in Rarity's boutique and everything, but they don't have a register or anything. I don't think Apple Bloom knows what she's talking about. I guess they could do like store credit type of deal maybe, but it still feels weird. Apple Bloom tries to grift Bonbon out of money. Then Applejack apologizes and offers some apples as an apology, only for Bonbon to extort an exorbitant amount of apples from Applejack. Ah yes, the friendliest place in Equestria strikes again. If you're wondering where I got this from, as I've said it a few times, honestly I forgot. I thought it was season 7 episode 1, Celestial Advice, but I checked and it wasn't there. But I remember Celestia is the one who said it. I sent you to Ponyville to make friends because it's the friendliest place in Equestria, is the quote I remember, but I'm starting to think I've gone insane. Applejack does some A+, I was gonna say parenting, but we'll go with big sistering. She sees Apple Bloom is upset and restless trying to get her cutie mark, and it's making her act out. So she reminds her that you can't force this, and she's not alone, asking if anyone else in her class doesn't have their mark yet, which Apple Bloom replies, yeah, twist. So Applejack convinces her to go to the bully's party with another markless pony to get bullied together instead of alone. Okay, I added that last part, but it is good that Applejack is both considering her sister's feelings and tries to seek a pragmatic solution that she would like. Sure hope their relationship stays nice or improves instead of the opposite. This tennis pony has a very unique design and is probably a reference to someone, or something. Let me know what. I'm lazy and don't want to go check. No, for real, I'm not checking this time. And here we see Twist's home, which is very floral, a bit weird considering the second thing we hear from Twist's mouth is how she likes to cook sweets. In about 10 seconds, we're going to learn that her cutie mark is candy canes. This is showing us that she's going to be a confectioner, most likely. Guess this also disproves Apple Bloom's assumption that her family would influence her cutie mark. That was probably intentional by the writers and good attention to detail. Twist also explains that she always liked making sweets, but it took her a while to realize that's her special talent, which means it's not just finding your talent, it's acknowledging that's what you want to do, which sort of explains how cutie marks work if we take into account how the CMC got theirs. You not only have to like doing something, but you have to acknowledge that that's what you want to do. You actually have some sort of control over it. The reason it takes so long for the CMC is because it takes them a long time to realize what they like doing, despite the fact that they were doing it for so long and they tried so many different things. I'm choosing to believe this is intentional foreshadowing because it just kind of lines up too perfectly. Well, the poor baby gets bullied again by the unfortunately timed visit from Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon. Look at that face. Most of the bullying just involves calling her a blank flank, and if there was something more clever being done, I'd go more into it. I could go into Diamond Tiara's insecurities, but there's an entire episode for that in the future, so I'll do it then. If this looks like Rainbow is about to explode Apple Bloom with lightning, don't worry, it's just a funny bit of wordplay. Rainbow exclaims, looks like some pony has a dark cloud above their head, and then moves it out of the way. I'm assuming she did this on purpose as a means of trying to cheer her up, which is nice of Rainbow. It calls back to her attitude in the Gilda episode, with how she felt about Pinkie at the end and demonstrated her deep care for her. Rainbow provides the depressed child with false hope. Lovely. After Apple Bloom rapidly explains the situation to Rainbow, Rainbow claims that she can get a remark instantly, which Apple Bloom denies, quoting Applejack multiple times, proving she trusts in her sister despite her attitude sometimes. However, Rainbow uses her sheer bravado and wins over the child, and will now proceed to make her even more sad. Rainbow Dash's plan is literally what the CMC end up doing, but do it faster. Try as many things as possible, and one of them is bound to be your talent. This tells us that Rainbow's intelligence is roughly equivalent to a little kid. Among the things they try is karate, which tells us that actual martial arts exist, which is pretty fucking funny. But also that Rainbow is apparently a black belt, with which how gung-ho she is about violence doesn't exactly surprise me. But Rainbow would also just wear one even if she didn't earn it to look cooler, but also, Rainbow respects contests and effort, so she probably would have worked for it. All in all, Rainbow Dash beats Starscream is confirmed. It's also a very nice detail that they use the belt to tie down their wings so they don't get in the way while fighting, even though I think the Pegasi would probably use their wings as part of fighting, maybe. No, they can't risk damaging them. Never mind, good detail either way. Ponies also have roller derby, which is dope. I don't think the numbers on their helmets are references to anything, but we can see that this pony is on a poster on the wall, so they're probably super famous and good at this, given that their helmet says, one, they might be the best in Equestria, or at least the Ponyville area. Here we see see the douchey duo leaving Rarity's boutique with a nice new dress for Tiara's party. Good to see Rarity getting some business. They also don't notice Apple Bloom, but still make her feel worse by claiming, "Thank goodness we're special, can you imagine not being special?" They really capture the snobby, rich narcissist vibe of Diamond Tiara. Silver Spoon is mostly just a yes pony to her, because her family is slightly less rich than Tiara's. But she gets like half an episode of development later on. In the same episode, Diamond Tiara gets hers, so yeah. Pinky arrives to bribe the child with sweets and convinces them to follow her. Pinky, no. Pinky, stop. Pinky! Also, Apple Bloom tells Rainbow that she'll see her at the Cutesinera, which is weird. Why would Rainbow Dash go to some random Philly's party just because Pinky's probably throwing it? Actually, in the cheese sandwich episode, his first appearance, it is confirmed that Pinky did throw it in the song they sing, and in the Cutesinera this episode, Pinky is obviously the one doing it, so that's good foreshadowing, or not foreshadowing, it's a good callback in that episode. Pinky didn't actually have any cupcakes, and instead forces the child into labor. This feels like a crime. If you wanted a song review for the short cupcake ditty they do, I'm sorry, but it's too short. But it is catchy. Does that count? Anyway, Pinky encourages Apple Bloom, eats her bad cupcakes, and tries to cheer her up throughout this entire scene, showing her being a wonderful person and friend, and I'm going to enjoy every scene of this I get. Until the end. Twilight appears for no real reason, and Apple Bloom begins begging her to magic up a cutie mark. Twilight tries to protest, reciting the same shtick as Cheerly at the beginning of the episode. Remember at the beginning when I said at least 2 episodes involving magic cutie marks goes wrong? Well, this was kind of one of them. There are obviously actually even more. I'm just thinking of the Cutie Mark Crusaders, like, specifically. But yeah, no, like, the whole thing with Starlight and then okay. There might be more than 2. There might be a bunch. See, because the only thing that goes wrong is that it just doesn't work. And as soon as Twilight places a cutie mark on Apple Bloom, it just fades away. As if reality itself doesn't agree. Magic feels weirdly sentient sometimes. I'm not sure if anyone else notices that. There'll also be plenty of episodes involving magic in later seasons once we get to Starlight, so I'll hold off on magic itself until then. Oh look, more saddle fashion. Still don't really get it. Also, Apple Bloom basically explains that she'll have a bad time at the party and doesn't want to go, but Twilight doesn't believe it, only for Apple Bloom to just walk into the party from the kitchen and Twilight disappears. I'm confused why there are adults here without kids. I guess Ponyville is tight-knit, but it feels weird for a kid to invite adults to their party when they're not related. Diamond Tiara probably just wants to brag and boast and such. Maybe Filthy Rich, her dad, invited them or paid them, or they think they're gonna get in good with him if they make her happy. I don't know. It's weird. Lyra 22 and Derpy 18. And here we see the dresses that they had Rarity make. And while Diamond Tiara's is whatever, I think the saddle on Silver Spoon could have some interesting implications, with Silver Spoon being the lesser of the two, quote unquote, in their dynamics. So she wears a workhorse attire with the saddle. Probably not the case, but I felt like reading too much into it. So here we see Golden Harvest and a random child arriving to the party, but 30 seconds earlier, they were also arriving. Considering the kid didn't have a gift, maybe they forgot and had to go get it, but then they wouldn't have gotten back so fast. They fucked up. Since this is the Cutie Mark episode, let's talk about cutie marks again. What the fuck is this guy's talent? Here he's shown popping balloons while dancing. Is that it? What job could he have? What do you use those types of pins for? I guess clothes? Is he another seamstress type like Rarity? I don't know. His horn is way pointier than most horns though, so maybe it's just that. That just feels weird though. I guess this would support the talent being what makes you unique and not just what your profession's gonna be, but that also feels weird because it's both sometimes. Maybe that's what's the deal with Snips and Snails like I mentioned before. But then again, Snips's doesn't really make any sense either. It's mostly just based on his name. It just feels arbitrary, and that's just sad for me. Bonbon 27. She was also invited, of course. Here we see why Berry Punch is called that, because you want to punch her for the way she drinks punch. Straight from the bowl, no glass. And Berry Shine, I guess because she leaves a slick saliva coating on the outside of glasses to make them shine. God, it's gross. I think she's my new least favorite background. Apple Bloom proves that despite being the element of honesty's sister, she lies like a dog. Also random note, Diamond Tiara said that her new dress shows off her cutie mark, yet it completely hides it. Apple Bloom, using her lies though, is able to shoo off Diamond Tiara by playing to her ego. Kinda like Rainbow Dash. Also, Rainbow Dash was invited but definitely isn't here. Weird that Applejack just showed up to push Apple Bloom into this confrontation though. Ah yes, the classic trip on your fake dress and accidentally stop the music to draw everyone's attention so you embarrass yourself at your worst enemy's party. We've all been there. Literally everyone at the party joins in the bullying of a small child. Bruh, fucking Ponyville, man. They need Twilight to teach them anything. Maybe I'm thinking of another character who said the whole friendliest place thing. Maybe it was Discord and a sarcastic taunt. He's known for those. Also, Diamond Tiara's dress now shows off her cutie mark, but only from behind, and that's mildly concerning, considering that's what she wanted from Rarity, and that's what Rarity made. Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo, if you remember them from the first episode, are for some reason hiding under a table. Maybe for the same reason as Apple Bloom, but we've never seen them interact with Diamond Tiara, nor did we see them at the school, so why would they be hiding? Either way, they shock everyone by embracing their blank flank solidarity with Apple Bloom. And now we finally get the opposition rhetoric to the "you're lesser than us because you don't have your mark" shtick, which is you have infinite potential without your mark. You can be anything, which is the positive spin they're putting on it. It's really nice. It tells us that just because you don't know what you're good at doesn't mean you're good at nothing. It just means you don't know what it is yet. Also, Twist being super happy and supportive of Apple Bloom is cute and all, but the fact that she didn't try to step in and speak up is a little harsh. Obviously, in this social setting, it makes it a little bit harder. It's still kind of sad, though. Scootaloo reverse roasts the duo, and the entire party laughs at another child. We need some responsible adults in here. Seeing as Pinky, Twilight, and Applejack all disappear in this scene, I imagine they're in the kitchen in the back hanging out while this is happening. I refuse to believe they would stand there for this if they saw it firsthand. Then again, Ponyville also laughed at most of them when Trixie did her bullshit. So maybe Ponyville just sucks without Twilight in charge. Twilight and Applejack finally show up and explain that the three blank flanks get to experience the joy of discovering who they're meant to be, expanding on the episode's lesson a little bit more. The CMC finally introduce themselves and declare their friendship in the name of blank flanks and their distaste of Diamond Tiara. Anyway, Apple Bloom asks if they want to help one another discover their cutie marks, while Sweetie Belle adds that they should form a secret society. But then they have Apple Bloom again also name them the Cutie Mark Crusaders, which feels like it should have been left to Scootaloo because the other two already contributed their parts. Apple Bloom created the mission, Sweetie Belle created the group, and Scootaloo could name it. Anyway, Scootaloo is the one who called out Diamond Tiara, so she at least got that going for her at least. And all that being said, the three of them meeting and immediately forming a bond and group based entirely around spite is based as fuck, and I'm here for it. The letter to Celestia is a bit weird as well as short. Quote, "One of your youngest subjects has learned the valuable lesson of sometimes the thing you think will cause you to lose friends and make you feel left out can actually be the thing that helps you make your closest friends and realize how special you are." End quote. That is very specific. I'm not entirely sure how this would apply for viewers as a lesson. Like, oh hey, I think my murderous tendencies will probably make it hard to make friends. Obviously an exaggerated example. If I had to guess, it's probably take pride in who you are and what you enjoy, and you might just find some friends who share in those things too? Did I get that right? Whatever, moving on. Alright, and that was The Call of the Cutie. All in all, it's kind of an average episode. We get to see the birth of the CMC, and hot take, they're not my favorite characters, and they kind of get overused a lot. I wish we had way more Zecora or Trixie, or even just any other side characters besides them. They get well over a dozen episodes, I'm pretty sure, focused on either all of them or them individually, which is a little excessive. This episode in particular, though, it does some good things. We get another nice Pinky moment, which I'm gonna just continually enjoy and praise every time I fucking see it, because I don't think it's going to keep happening. Beyond that, though, I think this is just going to get a solid 5 average. It's just right in the middle, nothing crazy, nothing horrible. At the end of the day, it's just sort of an average episode.